So I wanted to do a video on what to expect when baby is here.
I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you, 'cause that's what I'm supposed to.
You're a new mom, you don't know exactly what to expect, what is going to happen, what should happen, what shouldn't happen. So I'm just going to go through a couple different things that I noticed that I would have liked to know when Kylie was born. So we were in the hospital, and once Kylie was born, her first bowel movement was like tar. It was black, it was thick, it was sticky, it was disgusting. Now when you get home, it's complete opposite. It's like a yellow tint, and it is just straight watery. Now that worried me. I wasn't sure if that was normal or not, so I did end up calling the doctor. The doctors never told me that it was going to be straight runs. I mean, it was so runny that it literally was water, and it was out of her diaper. So just prepare yourself for some very, very watery poop. And it might be different for formula-fed baby. I'm not sure. Kylie is breastfed, so I'm not 100% sure if it would be any different or not. Another thing would be her umbilical cord. You're not supposed to wash the baby for a while in an actual bathtub for them. You are supposed to sponge bath them or just use a towel and some soap. You're not supposed to technically get that spot wet for a while. Now, Stevie and I were in Walmart, and I had her in my baby carrier, and when I pulled her out of the baby carrier, she screamed at the top of her lungs, and I wasn't sure what had happened. I tried calming her. I wasn't sure if she was hungry or if she had an upset stomach. I'm not sure what was going on. So we tried pulling over, or tried driving away from Walmart, and she was just hysterical. So I pulled her back out of the car seat. I calmed her down, I fed her, and then we got back home. Once we got back home, I changed her diaper. She had a little bit of blood on her onesie, and I noticed her umbilical cord had fallen off, and it was in her onesie. Now I'm the crazy mom that did bag her umbilical cord and saved it for her baby book. But that's besides the point, and she did bleed a little bit. I wasn't sure if it was normal for her to bleed. No one told us what was going to happen when the umbilical cord comes off, or what any type of situation is going to happen when that umbilical cord comes off. They did end up telling me at her her 2-week appointment, I think it was, that it is normal for it to bleed. Now I do think that when I pulled Kylie out of my baby carrier that it did tug it a little bit, and that's the only reason why it did come off. Now the doctor did notice that, and we had noticed this before too because we had looked it up, but she had a small umbilical cord hernia. The hernia is when it doesn't fully heal, and there's 2 parts that are supposed to connect and heal, and they weren't fully connected and healed. Now, that leaves a bump. I thought it was going to be an outie belly button, and it was not an outie belly button. Now, her belly button, I'll show you right now. It sticks out a little bit. I don't know if you can see or not. It does stick out a little bit, but the doctor said that by the time that she's 1 years old, she will have a normal belly button, and it will be back to normal. Now, what I just showed you now, that is a good day. When it first happened, her belly button was bumped up quite a bit, and I thought for sure it was an outie belly button, but the doctor said no, it's not, and not to worry about it, it's gonna go away. Sometimes if the hernia is bad enough, they will have to have surgery, and that was my big worry because I googled it, and when you Google things, things always seem way worse than what they really were. So the doctor said chances are she's not ever going to have surgery on it. It's only if it's a real bad case, and she said if you start seeing it get better, then don't even worry about it, and it is better. So that is another thing that I think that the hospital should pre-warn you about, because I had no idea about any of that. I had never heard of it. I had never even heard of it on a YouTube channel, on Google, on any of the sites that I ever even looked up on. And I never knew what the situation was going to be when that umbilical cord came off. So I'm glad I know now, and I can warn other mommies to prepare for that if it were to happen. So hiccups are very common with newborns. They get them very often. One thing I would suggest, there is a couple different things that you can do to get rid of hiccups. I know for myself, I don't like having hiccups, so I feel like Kylie is uncomfortable when she has hiccups. I'm not sure if she really is or not, because she can't tell me. But a couple things to help with the hiccups is breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, that sucking motion, is going to help with get rid of the hiccups. I will have her latch on and eat just a little bit, and then you have them sit up for quite a while, say 20 to 30 minutes, and then the hiccups are gone. Another thing that I suggest is grape water. I have Mother's Bliss grape water that I give to Kylie when she gets hiccups, and it's gone in like 20 seconds. Sometimes it doesn't always take it away right away. I've only had it one time out of the many, many times I've tried it, where it doesn't take it away right away. But grape water is such an amazing product that I would highly suggest any mother get prior to having a baby. They do get a lot of constipation and gas, and they're not 100% sure on what muscle to use to push out their bowel movements. So I would very, very highly suggest using grape water. It's an all-natural medicine that it's very easy on the baby's stomach, and I highly suggest it. Another thing that I thought would be nice to mention is if you are going to be a breastfeeding mom, prepare for very, very, very sore nipples. I mean, there was points where I was like, I don't even know if I can do this anymore. It is so sore that it's unbelievable. I had red dots on my nipples because of sores, and chances are it's latching, but 9 times out of 10 it is going to be just you needing to get used to breastfeeding. Your nipples are not used to that, and your body has to just prepare and get used to that. One thing I would suggest getting if you are going to be a breastfeeding mom is lanolin cream. That is a miracle cream. It helped me so much, and about a week and a half after breastfeeding, I was fully healed and normal, and I was able to breastfeed without any pain. But just prepare yourself for a lot of pain and sores, and if you really want to breastfeed, do it. Go through the pain, push through it. It's worth it. You don't even feel it. Now that I'm breastfeeding, Kylie's 2 months right now, I don't even feel anything, and nothing hurts anymore. It's just that first few weeks. It's tough, and it's painful. So definitely stick through it if you really want to breastfeed. Now, once baby is here, you definitely want to be comfortable. I mentioned in previous video that I wore nightgowns. They're just a dress nightgown. They have tank tops, and they come with a robe as well. I highly suggest something like that, something that's loose fitting. You don't want something hugging your body tight. It's very uncomfortable. You just had a baby. A baby was in your stomach, and now it's no longer in your stomach, so your stomach is very uncomfortable. I did not want anything hugging my waist. Nothing could be around me tightly. So a nightgown and a robe was my best friend for, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. I wore them constantly. If you are going to be a breastfeeding mother, don't plan on your milk coming in right away. When you are a breastfeeding mother, you're going to be able to feed your baby right away, but it's called colostrum. I think that's how you say it. And that comes in first, and it's a very yellow tinted, colored, and once your milk comes in, that's when you're going to want to definitely make sure you have some nursing pads. Nursing pads are going to help you from leaking through your shirt. Definitely want to make sure you have something to prevent that, because if you're out in public, you definitely don't want wet spots on your boobs. Once you have baby, you definitely are going to be bleeding for weeks. I bled, I think, for 6 to 8 weeks after having Kylie. Some days were worse than others. At the beginning, you bleed constantly, and then after a few weeks, you just bleed here and there, and it's not like a full, like, bleed. It's like a period, basically. And you definitely want to make sure you have pads on hand at all times. What I did is I always had a pad that was the longer pads, and then I did take, I wasn't supposed to, but I did take the pad that they lay down on the hospital bed. So when I was in the hospital, I wasn't supposed to take this, but I did because I knew I was going to feel more comfortable with it. They actually lay down a pad for you so that you don't bleed onto the bed and the sheets. I did take this so that I didn't bleed onto my couch or onto my bed, and trust me, it definitely helped, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable knowing I wasn't going to bleed onto my bed. And to be honest, I'll be able to use this for later on when I have my periods again. The pad looks like this. It's just green on the other side. And I just laid it down where my bottom was going to be, and I did bleed onto it quite a few times, so it definitely helps. And then I would just, once I bled onto it, I would just wash it. I don't suggest stealing from the hospital, but I did use it quite a bit. You can buy them. And I shouldn't even admit this, but I did take it from the hospital. But I highly suggest something laid down on your bed so you don't stain up your bed, and so you don't stain up your sheets and have to wash your sheets constantly, because after having a baby, that's the last thing that you want to do, is constantly do laundry. And my laundry room is downstairs, so having to go up and downstairs was just a pain. Once you have the baby, if you're breastfeeding, even if you're formula feeding, baby generally will feed every 2 to 3 hours. It all depends. They're not on a schedule, so it's really hard to even say, but generally Kylie would eat every 2 to 3 hours. Now, once I delivered Kylie, the doctor had told me that I needed an episiotomy, and that is from tearing. From delivering, my labial did tear. It was not a bad tear at all. I only had a few stitches, so I did have to have a squirt bottle to be able to wipe. It's very painful. That was the main pain that I had after delivery. The healing process, it's quite long. It's quite a few weeks. And once those stitches start coming out and your incision starts to heal, it is very, very itchy and very, very uncomfortable. You just have to be very careful with it as much as you can be. But there is a possibility, if you naturally deliver, that you will have to have an episiotomy if you do tear. Now, I asked the doctors and the nurses to get me home as soon as possible. So I was only in the hospital for about 24 hours. I did not want to stay in the hospital any longer than I had to. The one night that we had to sleep over in the hospital, it wasn't terrible. The nurses were great. They were awesome, but we did have one nurse that was in our room every hour. She came in at midnight, and she decided that was time to give Kylie her first bath. Why, I don't know. I would have thought that she would have been able to wait until 7 in the morning at least. But she came in at midnight. Might have even been 1 o'clock a.m. And she came and gave Kylie a bath, and then shortly after that, then I had the gestational diabetes, so every 3 hours I had to have Kylie tested. And I'll go further into the gestational diabetes and what to expect, and what you may or may not deal with the gestational diabetes. But because I had the gestational diabetes, she had to, and sorry for her talking in the back, she's jabber jaws right now. But because of the gestational diabetes, I had to have Kylie tested every 3 hours. We had to make sure that her sugars were not high, and if they were high, then chances are she might have diabetes. Things were great, and she did not have to, so they ended up giving her a bath sooner than the normal time. With gestational diabetes, they generally will not bathe the baby for 24 hours. Because Kylie's numbers were so on track and completely fine, they were able to give her a bath after 12 hours. So that's when she came in, and she ended up doing it at midnight for whatever reason. But my point of this is the nurses are going to kind of get on your nerves, and you're going to want to get home as soon as possible, because once you're home, you don't have anyone interrupting you, and you can just do your thing. It is scary after having a first baby to be home. After coming home with Kylie, she wouldn't latch on to feed, so that really made me nervous, and I was wondering, did we come home too soon? But everything comes so natural, and you wonder about this, and you wonder about that, and you wonder if you're doing things right or wrong, or if you'll need certain things. But once it comes down to it, everything's going to come so natural. And once it came down to it, she did end up latching on fine. So I didn't have to worry about it. But it was a worry after going home after just 24 hours. But I would, in my opinion, get home as soon as you can. Have family help you if you really need to. I didn't feel the nurses were much help. During the day, the nurses weren't in my room hardly at all. It was only that one nurse during the middle of the night where she was in about every hour to 2 hours, and it was kind of frustrating. And after that, we were like, okay, we are not staying another night. We did not sleep once. She was constantly in, and we couldn't even stand it. Once we would finally get Kylie to sleep after her crying, then the nurse would be in and then wake her up again. So it was just very frustrating. And like I said in previous videos, I didn't sleep for 48 hours before I actually went to bed after having Kylie. So I needed my sleep, and for her to come in that often was very irritating. And when you have no sleep, it makes things even worse. So my suggestion, and this might only be me, I did not want the nurse's help. I did not want anybody else's help. I just wanted to get home. I wanted the comfort of my own home, the comfort of my own bed, and I felt a lot better once I was home. So babies are going to have baby acne once they are born. It's just little pimples that are around their face. Do not touch them. Don't pop them. Nothing. It is very hard for me because I am a pimple popper, and I love to do that, but do not touch them. They will heal on their own. They'll go away on their own. One thing I did look up was breast milk does help the acne. So what I did is I would just squeeze a little bit onto Kylie's face, and it would heal up within hours even. Breast milk is a good cure for everything. If you look it up, I've looked it up on Pinterest, on YouTube, on everything. It is a very good cure for many, many things for a baby. Okay, sorry, I had to go get Kylie. She was fussing. One thing to expect if you are a breastfeeding mother, as weird as it is, I never was told this. I never expected this. I never seen a YouTube channel. I never seen anything on this, but when you breastfeed, you will still get contractions. It's your uterus getting back to normal, and it's your body telling you things are okay. When I was in the hospital, I was breastfeeding Kylie, and I thought it was Kylie putting the pressure on my stomach that was hurting, and it was a cramping feeling. When I had said that to Stevie, the nurse had chimed in and said, no, it's actually your uterus contracting and going back to its normal ways. Is a very good thing. It's supposed to happen, and it will happen for a couple of weeks. So expect to have contractions. It's very irritating. It's not painful. It's just irritating. It does hurt a little bit, but just expect it, and nothing to worry about. It is normal.